Hi everybody, this is Sandra Angelo broadcasting live from Sandyland. I should say Sandra Angelo and peanut butter, like usual. He loves to come on camera first thing when I turn it on. Yes, I'll have a kiss, thank you. But today we have something really special. In my studio I have my cousins. And in Sandyland we have what's called Aunt Sandy's Kids Club. And when the kids are born in my cousin's family, they have to be 6 years old before they can join Aunt Sandy's Kids Club. And so right now, some of the kids are grown and married and have kids of their own, but we still have a few at home. And so in Aunt Sandy's Kids Club now, it's Becky and Michael and JJ and John Paul. And so today I took them on the water and we went in this jet boat and it was just crazy fun, just spraying water everywhere. And at the very end of the boat ride, they just turned the boat almost upside down and we were soaking wet. But we didn't care. We walked over to Cheesecake Factory and just gobbled down this delicious food. And then we came back here and we had to literally get dressed. Becky had to get dressed in a few minutes. Here she is. She just went to a cotillion where she was dancing the waltz. And that's why I'm a little bit late today. You probably recognize her from all the drawings that I've done, right? You like living in Aunt Sandy's Kids Club?
Oh, absolutely. It's so fun.
Super fun. And here is John Paul. John Paul just joined Sandyland today. And so he's super excited. And you've seen a drawing of him with JJ and JJ and John Paul together. And Michael's over here. Michael is, see if I can find out where, there it is. Michael is the one that you've drawn as a baby and then helping me blow out my birthday candles. Remember that drawing? Yeah, and JJ's over there.
Sleeping right there.
Dead on the couch. He's so tired. He's so tired. So, and his phone died, so he's got nothing to do. So anyway, so we're real excited to have the kids here in Sandyland today. And I always like to ask people when they draw and when they're doing art, what is your why? And here's my why. This is my why. John Paul and Becky and Michael. Becky. And JJ's even woken up now. Yay, JJ. So these are the reasons that I do art and these are the reasons that I draw. I'm so excited to have them here in my studio today. So I know you probably are really enjoying meeting them. And some of the people that come to our live events in the atelier actually get to be with them and see them when they're modeling and things like that. This is a picture of us when we were, that they took of us just before our boat ride. This is where we actually looked really good. After the boat ride, we looked pretty awful, didn't we, John?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Soaked to the skin. I mean, just ridiculous. They gave us plastic bags to stick all over us. I'll post some pictures of it later. But anyway, so it was just super fun. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about today in Sandyland. I want to talk about how do you find your why? You know, because teaching you how to use a pencil or how to use paper really doesn't result in masterpieces. What results in masterpieces is creating the life that inspires you and makes you come home and want to draw. I mean, I took so many pictures tonight and today during the day that I just know I'm going to end up drawing these. And so, you know, that's what inspires good art. That's what makes you excited about sitting down to your drawing table. Because when I sit down here at this drawing table with these pictures of the kids, I'm going to relive today. I'm going to rewind these memories of how the salty water in my mouth, I mean, it was salt water in my mouth and in my eyes. And, you know, we just had so much fun. It was crazy fun. And so anyway, I want to talk about that today. And I want to show you that no matter where you are in your art journey, you can do this. You can learn how to draw, and then you can make these amazing magic moments like I did today, and that way you're going to be able to, you know, relive it while you're drawing it, and then you relive it when you put it on the wall every time you pass it, and then you give it to the kids, give them copies of it or pin it, you know, print it on a canvas or whatever, and then you leave a legacy behind so that when you aren't here anymore, they still remember these amazing times that they had with you. And so I'm sure John will never forget today. John, that was your first cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory, wasn't it?
No.
No, he says no, but it was. So anyway, so I want to talk today about the motivation that gets you into the art world, and then I want to talk about how you go from being stick figures to memories that are just ridiculously fun. And I want to show you how other people like you have found their why. You know, some people like to draw because they want to make money at it, and some people like to draw because they want to draw the kids, like this is my why, you know. And some people go to art because they want to relive some memories from the past, and some people use it to relax, and some people use it to keep their brain active, because literally as you get older, if you don't keep your brain active, it's going to atrophy. It's just the way it works. And so it's really important for you to find your why. You know, what is it that motivates you? And then you can focus on that, and then that's what makes the memories spill onto your canvas. But you know what? They don't look good on your canvas and your drawing paper unless you build really good skills. And that's what Pencil Drawing College is all about. We're actually going to be showing you a little bit later in the broadcast today. I'm going to be showing you some pencil strokes that I would use to draw some of the memories that I had today. And then, but before that, I'm going to talk about these people who were really bad at art and who became really good, and then I'm going to show you their why they, you know, got into art. You know, I mean, everybody has a different reason. It's not the same. Not everybody wants to make money with art. Some people just want to use it for recreation and to pass the time, or because it's a challenge, or they want to leave a legacy, or they may want to, you know, like I do, create these magic moments and then turn those moments into masterpiece, and then give that. You know, Becky should talk. Becky, come here and talk about your bunny. Tell me about the bunny.
My bunny?
Yeah. Tell us about when you were introducing me to Alfie, and then the photograph that I took of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a really special moment to have a picture of a good time when I got to introduce my bunny to Aunt Sandy, and just every time I see that picture, I remember introducing my bunny to Aunt Sandy and how much she loved him and how much I love my bunny. It was just really, really fun, and I really cherish all the pictures we have from it. It's very, very special.
And tell them about the Christmas present you got.
Oh yeah, so for there you go. For Christmas, Aunt Sandy gave me a picture of me holding my bunny, and it's this really big, beautiful drawing she did, and it's on a canvas, and we got to put it up in the living room the night Christmas night. So that was really, really special. Very cool.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometime I'll broadcast from her bedroom and show you Alfie. You will all get to meet him someday.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be super fun. Thanks, Becky.
No
Appreciate you coming on. Okay, so you can see that you do affect the people around you by what you create, and it's really important that you have a why. You know, my why is Becky and Michael and JJ and John Paul. You guys are getting ready to leave? Let me come over here and give me a hug. That's okay to hug on camera. I'll see you in a little bit. Bye-bye.
We love you.
Thanks for coming today. I loved it. Michael fixed my curtains today. That was awesome. And he also fixed my phone. They teach me how to charge things and all that kind of stuff.
Hi, John.
No, John, you're supposed to be high. Okay, there we go. Bye-bye. Thanks for coming. I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Happy New Year's. Okay, so they're heading out now. We've had a really long, fun day together. In fact, I'm getting hot. I'm going to take my down jacket off. Don't really need this on now. It's just too hot in here. Take off my alpaca scarf and I can just relax a little bit. So I'm going to talk to you about other people and what their why is when they do art. And I'm going to take you actually over to the computer where you're going to be able to see some art that other people have done, and I'm going to talk about their why so that you can find your why. And I know maybe sometimes when I'm broadcasting these 14 free workshops that I'm giving you live, you might be thinking, well, when is she going to get to the drawing part? When is she going to show us how to use the pencil? When is she going to show us the right papers to use? Well, we did talk about, on the second broadcast, we talked about all the supplies and sent you to a link where you can buy all the things you need, so that we kind of put that at the front in case you want to follow along the lessons that are going to be coming soon. You'll already have the supplies, and so that's why we put talking about the supplies sort of at the front. And then the first day I talked about the motivation and how important it is to build success in your head, because if you don't have a plan for success, it just kind of never comes to fruition. And so success is deliberate. It's not accidental. And so the first day I talked about that. And then yesterday I talked about art on the go. I tried to broadcast from my neighbor's house and it didn't work. The internet didn't work, but we finally got it going after 5 attempts, and we talked about art on the go. And now today I'm going to talk about your why. And at the very end of the broadcast today, I'm going to come back here to the studio table, and I'm going to grab a pencil and kind of show you a couple of drawing strokes that you might want to use, just a little sneak peek of some of the step-by-steps that are coming for you in the near future. But if you haven't signed up yet, if you're in Sandyland because you were in here before and you haven't signed up for the free lessons, be sure to go to pencildrawingcollege.com and sign up for it, because you're the ones who will get the notices when Pencil Drawing College opens, which is going to be in mid-January, and we have a few spots available. And then you'll also be on the list to get all the notices of time changes like today. I mean, I really tried to be here at 7:30. I told her, Becky, we got to pick you up at 7. But the guy who was running the show just kept saying, one more dance, so we were a little late today. Late because I'm busy creating memories that are going to turn into masterpieces, and I want to model that for you. I want you to learn how to make your life so exciting. You own the pen that writes your story, and it can be exciting. It can be amazing. Like my day was ridiculous. It was so amazing today. And I worked today. In the morning I worked for about 3 hours, and then in the afternoon and evening I just savored the kids. It was just this, I am feeling like just bubbly from the belly button up, because I just feel so full of love and hugs and all that kind of stuff, and cheesecake. So I'm going to segue right over now to the computer. I have a ginormous computer screen. If you saw the day that I toured my studio, there is a ginormous computer screen right on the other side of this desk. And I've got it all set up for you so I can show you some of these pieces of art that other, a little sneeze there. That other students have done before you, people who've been coached by me as apprentices, and they've learned how to turn their special moments into masterpieces, and then each of them have a different why, because you really need a why. I mean, I've seen so many people who do art because they retired and they don't have anything else to do. And, that is something you can do, but it isn't, in my opinion, all that meaningful. It's like you need a reason. Like, do you want to earn some extra mad money to pay for your supplies and your classes? Or do you want to become famous? I have Nita started with me at 70, and she's worldwide famous now. She's 91 and she's still drawing 6 hours a day. I have other people who did it for a legacy and so forth. So I'm going to switch the camera over right now, and I'm going to point it at the screen, and we're going to talk about these other people and their why. Because if you just sit down and you draw bowls of fruit or a pencil sharpener or something boring like that, it's not going to look incredible. I'm sorry. It just, for work to have inspiration, there needs to be some emotion involved and a reason, and that artist needs to have a passion. Some songwriters write songs because they just have to sing, and some want to be on the stage and world famous, and some just want to sing at the local coffee shop and earn a few extra bucks. And some people write songs for, great songwriters. So it's the same in art. We all have different reasons, and I want you to find your why. Because in Sandyland, it's not just about what's on the paper. We try to teach you how to become an artist, not just draw. We teach you how to become an artist. So it's a little awkward. I've been nominated for an Emmy. I'm an award-winning producer, so I always feel a little embarrassed when I have to move the camera in an awkward way, like we did when we were hugging and interviewing Becky and stuff like that. So it's going to be a little bumpy while I go over to the other place to talk to you. But I'm going to take this to the computer screen so we can see what's going to happen over there. Okay, so now I'm going to just switch the camera really quick. I'm still in my studio, but I'm on the other part. Okay, there's the computer. So now we're just going to go ahead and turn it on. And then I'm going to sit down here and show you what's on screen. And hopefully it hasn't logged me out. No, it didn't. Okay, just going to go to Sandyland. There we go. And now I'm going to tilt my camera up so that you can see where I am. And we're going to go into photos, and I'm going to look at this album that I just created for you this evening. Go back here for a second. Go into albums. The kids were playing with the computer, so my album kind of disappeared. There we go. Okay. So this is an example of a student who just took my class at a community college, and his only motivation was just to have something fun to do. He was a very successful businessman, and he wanted to be able to draw his grandkids. This is his granddog, and he wanted to be able to draw well. The drawing on the left-hand side is actually a drawing of his beautiful wife, and you can't tell because he was a stick figure artist, but after taking my the information I taught him in the pencil drawing college, you can see he got an amazing likeness of his dog called Sammy. And then here's another student of mine named Carol Hartwell. She lives here in California, so she took a live class from me. And I'm going to see if I can blow this up just a little bit for you. Okay, so there we go. She had stick figure drawings when she started too, and her why was she just wanted to draw her grandkids. She wanted to draw her family. She's retired now. She's a brilliant woman that graduated from Stanford, and she's a mathematician. So she hadn't been exposed to any of the art world, and so her right brain was very weak. But then when we helped her learn those skills, she was able to really improve her work. So you can see that this is a stick figure drawing, and then she drew her grandson. And then she went on, she got so excited about the pencil drawing college that she actually took an apprenticeship program. And you can see that even when you're good, like this over here, even when you're good, you can be better if you have a master telling you what you did wrong. So you can see over here, this is a great portrait, and it was on July the 1st. And then 1 week later, she did this portrait just because I was coaching her and telling her how to make it better, okay? She didn't have enough darkness behind the head right here, so this hair wasn't standing out. See that white hair? You need contrast. You need dark behind light if you want light to come forward. And she had light here, but she didn't have any dark behind it. And so I showed her how to do that. And then she was having trouble with the texture of the hair over here. And so I showed her how to use a better texture for the hair over there. And you can see that this was really good. You know, most people would be satisfied with this drawing, but she wants to be great. She's an overachiever like me, and she loves to do really top quality work. Of course, she's a Stanford grad, you know, so you know she's at the top of her field in everything she does. And so she felt that it wasn't enough to just do what was in pencil drawing college. She wanted to do an apprenticeship. And so then she got coaching from me. So then she started drawing the people in her family, and This is her niece. I think it's her niece or a cousin that with her dog. Her name is Elena, and her dog's name is Polar. And I just love how she captured this. It's just such a really special portrait of Elena and Pollard. She really captured the joy and the love that you have with your dog and your cat. I mean, you've seen Peanut Butter kiss me all the time. And then she got excited about art, and she asked me to create an art and culture tour for her. And so we actually went to the UK, and we went to this little village called Burton on the Water, and they had a little village in that town that was a miniature version of all the stores in that city. And so we found a store called Hartwell's, and her last name is Hartwell. So she decided to kneel down or sit down beside it. I took a picture of her, and then she turned this into a masterpiece. Now, this wasn't in an apprenticeship. She actually got invited into my invitation-only atelier because she was so serious and she was working so hard. And I don't care if people have natural talent or not. If they're working hard and they're serious about becoming good, they get invited into the atelier. And so here she is doing this. Literally, I mean, this is like ridiculous. This could hang in a museum. She added more to it. I didn't put the picture here, but she added these people out the window and people in front of the store, and she did an amazing composition where her feet are escaping the borders. It's just brilliant. And so she got so hooked on art that she stayed in my atelier, and this was a piece that she did when we were at Kensington Palace. This is her. She's really admires Wellington, one of the famous men in British history. And we stayed at the Vanderbilt Mansion in London, and so there was a pose where Wellington posed like this, and he kind of had the same colors on. So she posed like that in front of the Kensington Palace. And then she added me over here in the shadows, and this is actually from a garden that we visited when we were in the UK. So you can see now, not only is she really getting good at drawing, but she's getting good at colored pencil, and she's also learning how to compose instead of just copying photos. And this, again, is in the atelier. You can't get in because it's invitation only. But I'm just trying to point out her why. She wants to be excellent. That's one of her whys. She's a high achiever. And she doesn't like to just dawdle and use a coloring book or something. She wants to do original art. But in order to do that, she had to start out in the pencil drawing college and then graduate to an apprenticeship. And then she got invited into the atelier. And she's still with me in the atelier. She's still growing and learning. And so that's a really, I like to show this stuff to you because it's really good for you to see how somebody with stick figures can go so far in art. And her why was she wanted to draw her family. She wanted to become a master. She wanted to jump into art by going and seeing the art and culture. We studied the whole history of the British before we went to all these places. And we also went to Downton Abbey and had cocktails with the Earl and the Countess of Highclere Castle where they filmed Downton. And then we went to France and so forth. So I wanted to show you another one now. This one is Nita Drought. By the way, I don't think Carol would mind if I told you that she's 80 years old. She started with me when she was about 75. So you're never too old. And I want to just go back really, really quick to how bad she was. See that? I'm talking stick figures here, kids. So stick figures to unbelievable masterpieces. And it's very possible. Now this is Nita Drought, and Nita became world famous. One of her whys was she loves the fame. You know, she loves autographing and she loves creating masterpieces. And she came in with horrible stick figures, as you can see from this right here. And then this was just after a few months in the portrait drawing college. And she became ridiculously good. But you can see that she didn't start out good. And she had a different why than Carol. Carol Hartwell didn't care that much about fame. She just wanted to kind of immerse herself in art and really challenge her brain and keep her brain active, because as you get older, if you don't keep your brain active, just like any other muscle, it can atrophy. And here, Nita was starting at 70, and she retired, and she wanted to keep her brain active. And so then all of a sudden a tragedy happened to Nita, and it was very sad. Her husband had lymphoma. And so Nita ended up with a new why. Now she wanted to draw to siphon off the anxiety and the stress and all the frustrating parts of dealing with watching your husband go through this horrible illness when you've been married for 60 years and he passed away. So then her why changed again. Now she wasn't just using it to siphon off stress, she was using it to process grief. And so she started drawing from photos of their courtship. And that helped her because now giggles were rewinding in her mind. She was drawing their courtship photos, and she was drawing pictures of Bob back when he served in the war. And as she began to draw these, the giggles started mingling with the tears. This is the car they called the Love Mobile that he bought from his father-in-law when he wanted to court Nita. And so the whole time Nita was drawing this stuff, there were giggles mingling with the tears, and it really softened the blow of this devastating grief. So now her why changed from just being amusing and wanting to be famous, and then back in here where she wanted to be better and she wanted to be famous, and she was getting really famous. And then she used it to process her stress while her husband was having this illness, and then she started using it to process her grief because he passed away. And so her why started changing. So I wanted to point that out to you too, because your why can change. And after her husband passed away, she decided that she didn't really want to earn money with her art. She wanted to just bless the people who had blessed her. And so she started doing memories of her friends. She ran out of family members to draw, and so she started drawing memories in the people around her. And this is one of her best friends, and so she drew the wedding for that. And then this was a piece where everybody fell asleep on the couch except the cat. And she actually learned how to be creative because the background in this photo wasn't the same as what it is here in the picture. So again, she was in my apprenticeship program and in my atelier, and she started becoming more and more advanced, but she was using it to bless people. She just decided that she wanted to give these portraits away instead of charging for them, because she felt like, I have enough money, I don't really need money, and I don't want people telling me what to draw. I only want to draw the things that motivate me and get me excited. And so by not charging for it, I get to choose which ones I want to draw. And so that was a really good solution for her. And so again, her why changed. And so you can see that she started out with wanting to be famous, wanting to be good. Then she started using it for grief and for processing stress. Then she used it for grief. And then she used it to give back to the world that she lives in. So those are all different whys of doing it. Now this one is another one. I've been talking about him in some of my other broadcasts. This is Orville Thompson, who came to me with stick figures that were really bad to start with. And I'm going to turn the light off because I think that you'll be able to see this a little better. So hang on just a minute. I'm just going to be over here turning the light off and see if that will help so that you can see this a little bit better. There we go. I think you'll be able to see this better now that I turned the light off. Again. Oh, it's worse. Hang on. I'm going to turn the overhead light off. Okay, let's see if this is going to be better. I hope it's going to improve. It's worse. Okay, gotta go to turn the lights back on. I'm sorry, kids. I probably should have pre-tested this before. Okay. You learn something new every day about lighting. you know, in a theater, when you turn off the lights, you can see the movie better, but apparently not so much in a studio. So we're going to turn the lights back on and just go with what we were doing before. And thank you for being patient with me while I did that. Okay, we're back to this. So, Orville Thompson had a stroke on the left side of the brain. And so he could no longer work. He was an engineer. And he could no longer work. So he came to me and he said, I want to cultivate my right brain. Because, again, being a left brain engineer, he had never had a chance to delve into the arts. And so he went through my drawing program. And you can see he went from horrible stick figures to drawing this amazing portrait of his grandson. And so his why became, I want to draw my family, and I want to draw their pets as well. So this is his grandcat, and this is his daughter. And then he actually moved into colored pencil after he took graphite. He took colored graphite first, then color theory, and then colored pencil. And so he really became very proficient at drawing. Let me see if I can get, there we go, a little bit more focus. So Orville Thompson's why was, I want to keep my brain active. My left side has conked out. The left side of my brain is conked out. So I want to see if I can cultivate the right side of my brain. And he told me later that I had really made a difference in his life because he was finally able to find something that was so challenging, you know, pretty much as challenging as his work. And, you know, when you get out of bed in the morning, you need a challenge, especially if you've had a job where you're problem solving and you just need to keep your brain active. And he loved art because it was endless. The possibilities were endless and there was so much to learn. And he really needed that challenge. And he lived another 30 years after that. And when I went to his funeral, they asked me to give a eulogy for him because we became so close. And he actually, his brother came up to me just sobbing and said, you literally saved my brother's life. And you gave him purpose and meaning. And you gave him a reason to get out of bed. You gave him challenges. You gave him something to conquer. And you have no idea how much it means to us. And so Orville Thompson's why was that he was retired and he needed a challenge. You know, he didn't want his brain to atrophy. And he wanted to make his life more meaningful. And so he was doing it for a similar why to what I had. You know, John Paul, Becky, and Michael, and JJ give me a why. You know, and Orville's was doing the same thing. This is his daughter, Susan. And he drew his grandson, Andrew, and the whole family, and all the cats and dogs and everything in the family. But in addition to that, another part of his why was that he wanted to stay active. He wanted to keep his brain vital, and one side of his brain had literally, you know, shut down. And so he wanted to stay healthy, and he knew that cultivating his brain with drawing, especially because it was challenging. It's not like it's coloring or something that doesn't require mental activity. This is very challenging, and he needed that challenge. So that was one of his why, was the challenge. And then this was my student from the UK. She actually started with me because talent kind of runs in her family, and her mom's really, really gifted. And so she gave the apprenticeship to herself as a birthday present. One year she had some extra money set aside, and so she decided to take the course. And when she started, let me just go to this. I'm going to flip ahead. This was how she was drawing in colored pencil. You can see her color theory was terrible. Her composition was lousy. And then she took this colored pencil workshop, and it's just hard to believe that the same person did this colored pencil drawing and the same colored pencil drawing there, and those are 7 days apart. You know, I mean, can you even believe that? 7 days apart, 7 days from this to this. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's one of the reasons I absolutely love teaching, is I love watching the transformations. So here was a picture of a dog that she drew before the class, and then when she took those workshops, she got addicted, and she joined the apprenticeship and took pencil drawing. Then she took color theory. Then she took colored pencil. And the thing that was so interesting about her is she 6 months into the apprentice program, she was invited into the atelier, because I could see she was serious. And even though she started with really weak skills, I could see she was going to go places because she did the homework, and she really wanted to work hard and become better. And so 6 months into her program, she had already sold. She was working on her 7th commission. So her why was to make money. I mean, she was making thousands of dollars and paying herself back for all the lessons that she'd had with me. This drawing sold before she even finished it. And so for some people, the why is, I want to make money. I want to make money doing something I love. She has a computer day job where she's technical support. And again, it's very left brain. And she just wanted to do something that was more fun for her and earn money doing that. So she did. And this was her first commission. And then this was her second commission. And you can see she had really weak portrait skills when she started. But after she started the apprenticeship with drawing first, learning how to draw first, and then she learned color theory, and then she learned colored pencil, and she did this beautiful commission with colored pencils, and it's just ridiculous how gorgeous it is. So you can see that her why was that she wanted to relax, she wanted to develop her skills, and she wanted to make money. And here she went into a dentist office one day, and they asked her what she does, and instead of saying I'm a computer consultant, she had developed so much confidence, she just decided to say, I'm an artist. And the lady said, oh my gosh, my father just died. Do you think you maybe could do his portrait for me? And she did. And so here, I think this was like her 5th commission. You know, so people in your world, you know, they may be looking for somebody to do a portrait. And so Carol literally made thousands of dollars doing what she loved. And now she has a skill that's going to last a lifetime. In other words, if she wants to continue doing this, she can. She knows how. So this is another one that she did more recently of a giraffe, a baby giraffe and its mom. Peanut butter, stop it. A baby giraffe and its mom. And so you can see her skills really advanced. And so Carol's why initially was she just wanted to be better, and then she wanted to make money. So her why might be different from yours. You know, Nita could easily have made thousands of commissions, but that wasn't her why. She just wanted, she didn't need the money, and she wanted to give back to the world, the people that helped her, so she just drew portraits for the fun of it. Whereas Carol made nice money, you know, doing portraits of people, and really, really cool. I mean, this is one of my favorite drawings ever. It's so adorable. This is, I'm trying to remember the name of the little girl. I think it's her niece, and this is Bentley, and they're just best buddies, and you can see that Carol really captured it. So you can see that's a different why. And now we're back at the beginning, so I'm going to go back and sit at my drawing table. This is going to be a little bit bumpy again. I got to get peanut butter out of my way. And I got to go back over to the drawing table and set this up. So we're looking in the other direction. And then we'll finish up talking about the why. Okie dokie. So here, switch it back. Okay, here we go. All right. You can see I got quite a bit of sun today when we were out there on that boat. It was super fun. San Diego is just such an incredible place to live. I chose to live here. I've been to 40 countries, and I've been to 48 states. And I chose San Diego. It's my number one city in the whole world. I love this city. So there's so much to do here. Okay, so the question to you tonight is, what is your why? You know, is it like me where it's Becky, JJ, John, Paul, and Michael? You know, or is it because you want to earn a living doing something you love? You want to earn thousands of dollars like Carol did. Carol in the UK. Or maybe you want to do commissions for people just out of gratitude like Nita did. You don't need the money, so you just want to, you know, draw people that are around you. Nita ran out of family pretty quickly when she started drawing. She's literally drawn more than 500 lifelike portraits. And her work has been on television. She's been on TV herself. She's been written up in books and magazines, and she's been written up in international webinars and DVDs and everything. She's been in newspapers. She's just an amazing celebrity, and she loves it. She loves signing autographs, and she loves being famous. And she doesn't have an attitude. You know, she just really enjoys people, and so that's why. And I'll be sitting in a restaurant with her, and she'll notice a little baby at the table next door, and pretty soon she's not looking at me, she's looking at the baby. And I end up having to go introduce her and say, okay, Nita, get a picture. I'll take a picture of the baby so you can draw it. And so she'll just draw strangers, you know. And she makes a lot of friends that way. Because she said, you know, when you're 91 years old, your friends start dying off, so you need to make new ones. So she'll literally just approach somebody in a restaurant and ask for, you know, she'll say, you have an adorable baby, and I draw people, and she carries a little small portfolio with her with her artwork shrunken down, so they know that she's a professional artist. And then she has a website too, NitaDroughtGallery.com. DRAUT Gallery.com is where you can see her work. I think we still have it up there, but we had created a website for her where you could see her work. And so then she just approaches strangers and asks if she can draw their kids, and people almost always say yes. And so then she gets to know them, and she's got new friends. She goes to Denny's quite frequently to have lunch with her girlfriends, and she became best friends with the waiter, and he always treats her like a queen every time she comes in. She's drawn him and his dog, you know. So she said art has just changed her life because she has a way to siphon off stress. She had a way to process her grief, which was grueling. She was married 61 years. She had no children, and so Bob was her whole life. And that pain is just gut-wrenching. I lost my father really young, and I know what it feels. It's awful. But when you draw that person, you know, all these memories come back, and you can't help but laugh and giggle and just relive that amazing. We were doing it today. The kids were reliving our trip to the Caribbean and John's first birthday that we had him over in Aunt Sandy's Kids Club, and you know, all the things that, you know, reliving memories makes them come alive again, and you get to experience it for the second time. And then she also ended up becoming using her artwork to siphon off the sadness. And then Orville used it to help his brain stay alive because one side of the brain had atrophied and he wanted to develop the other side. And then he used it to leave a legacy. He's gone now. But all those beautiful paintings that he did for his family, they're still on the wall, so he's still here. He's still a part of that family. And this is same with the kids. I mean, I'm 50 years older than Becky, and I've told you this many times, and I'm not going to be here her whole life, you know, but I want that Becky Bunny drawing to be on her wall, and it will be. And I'm going to draw pictures of what we did today, and I'm going to leave that memory behind for her. So I can continue to be a part of her life even when I'm not here. That's part of my why, is leaving a legacy and just being with the kids and creating these amazing memories. Today was so, you can tell I'm just bubbling. I had so much fun with the kids today. We just had a blast. And so, and then maybe, let's see, who else did we review? We reviewed, Carol Hartwell, who is a brilliant woman, and she doesn't want to just settle for coloring or, something wimpy that just copying somebody's, artwork, a painting in the front of the room and everybody copies the teacher. She didn't want that. She wanted a challenge. She wanted to become a master. And she wanted to go the places that she was, I took her to the France and the UK on an art and culture trip for 2 weeks, and we did things you could never see on a tour bus. Behind the scenes stuff, like, having cocktails with the Earl and Countess at Downton Abbey, and private audience in the Louvre with the cultural attaché, and private audience with an artist in Paris who gets $100,000 per painting, and someone who's a good friend of mine. She wanted to jump into that world and create these amazing memories so that then she could turn those into masterpieces as well. And she just got such a satisfaction by all that she's accomplished. And it's not easy. Sometimes she gnashes her teeth and wants to cry because it's so hard. But that's what makes it so awesome. Because it's when you conquer a challenge that you really feel satisfied. When something comes easy, it's just like, oh, we're done. But when you have really worked at something and it's really hard and you're just like, oh man, am I ever going to get this? Then all of a sudden you get it and it looks amazing, and you look at your work and you go, oh, I can't believe I just did that. It's awesome. It's such a satisfying thing to be really good. It's embarrassing to be mediocre. I was mediocre. I remember when I first started symposiums, I was bringing all the masters into San Diego so I could learn with these masters and apprentice with them. And the day before they came, I would teach a workshop because I was better than the students. But when they came, I put all my work under the table because I knew I wasn't good compared to them. And I had invited them over to my house for dinner afterwards. And I went in the kitchen to check on something that was cooking. And I heard them when I came back to the studio and I was standing at the door. They didn't see me because I was behind the door. They were laughing at my art. Ooh, that's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be bad. Because when you look at your art and it's mediocre, you know it is. You know you could be better. And if you don't know how to get out of that, how to get unstuck, it's so frustrating. I literally spent 10 years stuck trying to read books and trying to do videos and all that kind of stuff, and it's just like, it's not the same as having a master tell you. When I showed you that drawing that Carol had done that was good, the grandmother with her granddaughter, it was good, but it wasn't great. And then when she was in my atelier where she was getting that feedback from me, all of a sudden, oh, that took off and it was great. And so that feedback that you get from a master can make all the difference in the world. Because like me, I was just batting my head against the wall trying to guess, which pencil should I use? Which paper should I use? Why would I use that? Oh, they used it in this one, then I'm going to use it over here. It's kind of like saying, okay, I used cinnamon on cinnamon rolls, so I'm cooking meat and it's cooking, right? So a meatloaf, so I probably need to put cinnamon on it because it goes in the oven like a cinnamon roll did, right? No! Use different papers and different pencils for different kinds of projects. And I just didn't know that. I just didn't know what papers or what pencils to use, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong, and I wasn't getting better, and I was just banging my head against the wall. Excuse me, and that's when I discovered studying with a master. And so I started apprenticing, and my work took off like a rocket. And like I was telling you the other day, I ended up with 9 commissions for a very prestigious birthing center, and then private commissions from clients, and on and on and on. I won't go into details about that. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but it's shocking to see how bad people can go from bad to good. And that's why I showed you all this stuff today, because I want to encourage you that if you're in the stick figure category, you can go all the way like Carol Hartwell did. You can go from stick figures to creative masterpieces, not copying photos, but creating your own masterpieces. Or if you want to do what Orville did, you can go from stick figures to creating lifelike portraits of your whole family, including the cat and the dog. Or if you're like Larry and you just want to dabble in it a little while, you can go from stick figures to photographic renderings. And even if you're already sort of good, you know, you're in that great category like Carol was, you still need help. You still need people to show you where you're going off and how you get from mediocre to amazing. You know, I started out really bad, and then I met mediocre, and then when I went with the masters, where I was getting the coaching, that's when I became a master myself. And so the big key, so people ask me, what's the number one thing that changed your art? And I say, coaching. Somebody told me what I was doing wrong. And they told me which papers and the pencils to use. And so all of a sudden I was seeing myself just take off like a rocket. And so it's very, very exciting and very satisfying. So now I'm going to just give you a quick little, I know I've been talking for quite a while. I try to keep it under an hour if I can, but I'm going to see if I can possibly do a little demo. By the way, if you signed up at pencildrawingcollege.com, you already have a free workshop. So you have a video where I show how to draw fur on a golden retriever and how to do the whiskers, and I show you the gradation stroke and I show you the hatching stroke, and then I also gave you an entire workshop from workshop number 5 in the course on how to draw dogs, where I teach you how to do short hair fur, and it shows you step by step how to draw an eye, step by step how to draw a nose, step by step on the whiskers and the short fur and all that stuff too on a little chihuahua. And I do that, I give you the video and the workbook rather than doing all of that live, because it takes me a long time to go from, you know, where I'm starting to where I'm going to be. And so I don't, you know, it would take me longer than an hour. It'd probably take me, you know, 8 to 10 hours to finish something for you live. And so that's why I put some of your live free lessons into a video, and in those workbooks could kind of get a sneak peek of how I teach. You know, when I have people in my drawing college, I only want the people who like my style. You know, I don't want cranky people or people who think, oh my gosh, she talks too much, or, you know, I don't really care about being motivated, just show me the pencil stroke. Those people don't belong in here, because we in Sandyland, we care about art being a way of living. We care about our whys, you know, and those whys end up being a phenomenal work, like you saw with Carol Hartwell. These pieces could hang in the Louvre. I mean, she's really become accomplished, and being a Stanford grad, that's what she wants. When you've been an achiever in your life, you don't want to have mediocre stuff on your paper. You want to be good. And that's the way that I feel. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about a question that I got when I was looking at your posts, because I've been asking you what you're struggling with, and in a day or two I'm going to start demonstrating some of those things. I'm building your mindset first, teaching you what supplies to buy so you can order those and go. By the way, if you need to buy supplies, go to Sandra's Favorite Stuff, Sandra with an S at the end, favoritestuff.com, and that's all the stuff that I recommend. And then that way, when we do get to the part where you're going to be drawing along with me, then you'll have the supplies already. So that's why you put the supply demo towards the front of the 14 days. And then I'm giving you your foundations and your motivation first, because I really strongly believe that you could learn how to draw and never create a masterpiece if you don't know what it's like to be an artist. I mean, artists are different, and you need to be able to think like an artist, talk like an artist, dress like an artist, you know, live like an artist, do things like I did today that inspire you. And if you skip that step of what it really means to be an artist, and you're just like, you know, let me take a coloring class, it's relaxing. I think coloring books are relaxing, but you're not challenging your brain, and you're not growing, and you're not becoming an artist. You're just, you know, you're copying. There's nothing wrong with copying. I really encourage people in the beginning to copy a lot, because you learn a lot by copying the master's artwork. All masters did that in Europe. You know, you'll see, go to the Degas wing in the Norton Simon Art Museum, and you'll see that there's this Poussin in the Degas wing. You think, what the heck is a Poussin doing in here? Well, Degas painted it because he copied Poussin, because Poussin knew how to draw, how to paint. And so in order to learn it, the masters always copied masters. They apprenticed with masters and copied their style until they started developing their own. And you can see in this Poussin at the Norton Simon Art Museum, just at the bottom, it starts going a little wonky because Degas was more loose than Poussin. And so you can see his style kind of emerging as he was copying. And that'll happen to you too. Once you start building these strong foundational skills, eventually your own personal style is going to start to show up. That happened with Carol Hartwell, because I'm a realist. I like things to look like a photograph. And Carol's more of an impressionist. And so in the beginning, obviously, since she's studying with me, she's more in the realistic category. But I always encourage people to be themselves. And so when her work started getting a little bit, you know, more free and more relaxed, I was like, go, Carol, that's really good stuff. I wish I could do that. I love Impressionism. My hand just won't do it. It wants to do everything exact. And so I encourage people to build these foundational skills, and then after they build the foundational skills, their stuff will be unique, and it'll be different. It'll be the artistic expression of that person, not a clone of Sandra Angelo. I'm not trying to create little clones. I want you to be a better version of you. But if you don't have the skills that you need to make your paper look right, you're never going to do quality art. You know, it's like if you want to learn how to write, you need to know grammar, punctuation, syntax, spelling, how to diagram a sentence. You can't just start with a creative writing class. You've got to learn all these foundations first, and then you can be a creative writer. And you could write an encyclopedia, you could write a novel, you could write a screenplay, you could write a technical manual, you could write anything once you learn how to write. But if you don't know how to write, when you write these novels or magazine columns or whatever, we're not going to understand you because your grammar's wrong, or you don't put punctuation in, or you don't put capitalization in. We're just confused. In fact, one of my students, because I'm a national magazine columnist and I've written for all the top magazines in the art world. I had my own column in Art Materials Today and American Artists. I wrote for American Artists in the Artist magazine, and I had my own column in Michael's Arts and Crafts and so forth, and even some decorative magazines as well. And so I'm very connected in the media world. And so I've done a lot of television, HGTV, Discovery Channel, you know, Good Morning Texas, and I've been all over the place. And so this lady approached me and said, my nephew is really talented as a writer. Would you read his work and, you know, see where he could place it? And he had just lost his sister to leukemia, and it was a really painful experience. He wanted to write about it, you know. And I thought, wow, maybe I could connect him with the people at Psychology Today. And so I read his work, and I couldn't understand it. He didn't have foundations. He didn't know grammar, punctuation, syntax, spelling, how to diagram a sentence, you know, how to conjugate verbs. He didn't know what he needed to do to communicate. And so his writing, I couldn't even understand it. And so it's the same with art. This is just my personal opinion, that a lot of, you know, novices just vomit paint. There's no sense to it. It's just garbage. You know, I even saw 6 garbage bags on a pedestal in Palm Springs for $50,000. And I'm sorry, it's not art. This is my opinion. But to me, if you want to do classical art, even if it's whimsical or graphic design or, you know, impressionism or whatever, it needs to have those solid foundations. Otherwise, you're always going to be wobbly. And it's going to show up. It's going to be like a sour note in the symphony. And so it's really important for you to work with a master who's been trained in the solid foundations, rather than signing up for a local yokel, at your community college. You know, here's something kind of interesting. I was actually hired to do a keynote speech at a convention with 100 art teachers for the San Diego City Schools. It was down in Mexico because they wanted to have an exotic location. And they were going to use my curriculum because I had in the olden days this huge curriculum with 70 courses and, you know, teaching DVDs and all that stuff. We now put it all online, but in those days it was books and DVDs. And so 10 minutes into my lecture, I was teaching them how to use my program, my pencil drawing college program, which takes people from zero to amazing really fast. And 10 minutes into my lecture, I realized they were drawing. There were only 2 people in the room, 2 art teachers that knew how to draw. They had a 4-year degree in art and they didn't know how to draw. And you know why? Because they were educated in the 60s when you throw paint at the canvas and you get on drugs and let it all hang out and whatever feels good, do it. Put a urinal under plexiglass, frame rope, you know, and they had never learned the foundations. So there's a lot of really bad art teachers out there. And there's a lot of really bad, you know, information that just isn't true. I read it all the time, even in the big magazines. They'll hire somebody to do a program and they're using all the wrong stuff. I know because I was the editor for Art Materials Today and I've tested all the art materials and I know what works and what doesn't. And there's just a lot of false information. Like here's one example. There was one teacher out there published by a prominent publishing company that was recommending that you spray your graphite drawing with hairspray. It's true. The graphite won't move, but guess what? Your paper is going to look brown in no time. And it's going to stick to everything it goes near. Hairspray's toxic, and it's not archival, and it will ruin your art. But here's this guy who doesn't know anything, but he's a teacher, and he's telling people to do that. You know, well, I had tested all the fixatives, and I know which ones will keep your graphite in place. And I know which ones are going to change the color if you're spraying it on colored pencil. And I know which ones are, you know, which ones are going to give you ability to rework the piece and which ones are, you know, that's the finale. Once you spray it, you're done. You can't change anything. So there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of really bad quote-unquote art teachers out there, even people who are published. There's a lot of bad ones out there too. So you want to find a master that has a classical training. You know, I saw an exhibit one time at the San Diego Museum of Art that was all the Impressionists, the French Impressionists, and then at the very end of the exhibit it had a little room full of American Impressionists. And I took the students through the museum acting kind of like a docent and it's just talking about how amazing it is that when you're this close to a Monet, it just looks like a bunch of dots or something, but you stand back and it's this beautiful, beautiful symphony of colors and strokes, and it's wonderful. But when we went into the Impressionists, they said, why is this work so bad? It was done at the same time, and this work is so good. Well, in Europe, they study art. And so those Impressionists actually learned how to draw, they learned color theory, they learned composition, they learned how to use paint, they learned the right canvases, they learned everything, and then all of a sudden, in those days you could only paint indoors because they had to mix powdered pigments with linseed oil and turpentine and things like that, so they couldn't work outdoors because the wind would blow away their pigment powders. And all of a sudden, right during the Impressionist time, the tube was invented. The tube for oil paints. And so all of a sudden they were able to go outdoors, and when they went outdoors they started noticing that they have their canvas and they're painting from 8 to 10 and the light changed. And when the light changes, the color changes. So the Impressionists started painting faster and abbreviating their strokes. they weren't trying to be impressionists. They were just trying to paint faster so they could catch the light and catch the shadows before it changed. In fact, Monet would go out in the field and he'd have one canvas that he'd work on from 8 to 10 every day, another canvas from 10 to 12 every day, because when you study, and from 2 to 4 and so forth, because when you study color theory, you know that light changes colors. You can't just say light that you're going to use these pencils always for flesh, because I look different in this than I did today outside, so you'd use different colors for each of those portraits. And so anyway, that was a coincidence that they became impressionists. Whereas with the Americans, they never studied art. They just said, oh, they're doing impressionism, let's try that. And so they were doing all these strokes without knowing how to draw, without knowing composition, without knowing color theory. And so it just hurt your eyes. You know, you saw these beautiful impressionistic pieces, that a style that had just emerged because they started painting en plein air. And you saw these novices who didn't have the wisdom to learn art. Before you start to express yourself, learn it. You know, I mean, I've heard people sing that never learned about notes and music. And you've probably heard people play, you know, the piano or the drum or whatever, that never learned the classic foundation. So I'm a big proponent of being classical and building those foundations, and then once you build those, then you can depart. I'm just going to show you something really quick. This is a painting done by one of my students, by a guy named Grant Peikoff. I just love his work. And coincidentally, I taught him how to draw when he was 17 years old, and I taught him how to make money with art too. And now he travels the world full-time, and he's made more than $1 million painting. And you can see that his work is whimsical. It's not super realistic. And so, but when I taught him how to draw, I taught him perspective. That's why the perspective is right. I taught him composition, so everything's not centered. And I taught him color theory, so you can see he's using complements to make it look more electric. And it's a little bit funky, but it really works because he mastered foundations first. Okay? So I'm a big proponent of mastering foundations and studying with a classical master, not some local yoko who doesn't know what they're doing. Because when you strive to be like the person that's teaching you, if they're mediocre, you're going to be below mediocre. If they're a master, you're going to be a little bit less than a master. And if you're like me, you want to be good. And so it's not good enough to settle for medium. I want the gold. So today I'm just going to talk really quickly because I'm almost out of time. I don't want to go too long. Otherwise, you know, you might look at the time and say, oh, I'm not going to watch this. By the way, when you watch these, you don't have to watch me that much. You can just listen. I often do that when I am taking a workshop. I'll just, if it's not a demo, I'll just put it on the sound and I'll do other things. I'll maybe draw while I'm listening or whatever. So you can put on, you know, put me on when you're listening and then just listen to me. And every once in a while, if you hear me pointing to something, you'll want to get up. So I'm going to address the question right now, just before we leave today, about contour line drawings. Okay, so somebody asked a question about that, and they said that they realized when I showed that contour line drawing yesterday that that's where they were off. And it really is very common for beginners not to know that you need to do a complete contour line before you start drawing. So when I begin a drawing, there's 4 elements to art. There's line, shape, value, and texture. And then if you go out of black and white, there's color. That's the 5th element. But we don't deal with color in here. We're doing black and white. And so I always begin with the shape. So I'll do a negative space drawing, and then the next thing I'll do is put the lines inside that shape, okay? And then I will go and shade inside those lines. So that line drawing was a map of where I'm going to put my shading. And then once I put the shading down, then I will go ahead and put the texture on top. And it's hard to understand this when I'm talking about it because it's a visual concept. So after this broadcast, I'm going to post a 4-step drawing for you in the comments here. And I'll probably go ahead and put it maybe in that album too with all those artists so that you can see that, you know, you need to go through those 4 steps when you're learning to draw. So I'm just going to go back here for a second and look and see if I have a contour line drawing that you can see. So you kind of see what that means. Let me just grab my portfolio really quick. And here's an example. Okay, so I've got 2 examples. I showed you one yesterday, and then this is another one today. So this is Peanut Butter sleeping in the bowl. We called this Peanut Butter's bowl. When he was a little kitten, he could fit in the bowl. Oh, there, I finally found this is the dog I'm drawing. There's a surf dog contest in Del Mar every year, and I always go to it, and I call this one the Hot Pink Bikini. I'm drawing that dog. So anyway, so Peanut Butter was sleeping in his bowl every day, and these are the plastic sleeves that I keep my art in because they're archival and they won't damage my art. So this is Peanut Butter sleeping in Peanut Butter's bowl, all right? And this is really complex. See all this detail in there? That's really complex, and it would be very difficult for me to put that in the right place unless I did a contour line drawing first. And so I did an elaborate contour line drawing. And by the way, if you get the shadows and the fur in the wrong place, it's going to mess up the anatomy of that cat when you draw it. You can't just, like if you were drawing this, you know, this patterned outfit that I have, you can see when I move my arms, the stripes move and they change. Like especially look right up here in the shoulder. See, when I move that, see how the stripes change? Okay? So you've got to get everything right. The folds and all that stuff needs to be in the right place, otherwise it's going to mess up the anatomy. And so in this drawing right here, I don't know if you can see it really well. Let me just see how I can bend that down. There we go. Okay, just have to figure out where the lens is. So you can see, I keep wanting to point to the tablet. I put in really elaborate line drawings right here so I would know where to put those stripes and where to put the values and where to define the shadows and the different patterns that were in his fur. Because if I get that wrong, it's going to mess up the anatomy. The cat's going to look like it's, you know, deformed or something. So, and again, I showed this one to you yesterday, but I'm going to show it to you again because it's close at hand. And let me see if I can get the light to not shine on it really brightly. Okay, there we go. So you can see right in here how I put in a very elaborate line drawing so that I could see where exactly I need to make those lines, okay? And so when you're drawing, it's really important to begin with a very accurate line drawing. And when I do this, I get the whole line drawing done first. I don't even start to shade until the line drawing is complete. And then I check my map, you know, when I finish the map drawing. I call it the map drawing. It's a line, contour line drawing. When I finish that, I double check to make sure everything's in the right place. And when I do the line drawing, I draw it upside down. Because otherwise you're tending to think of it as, like, for example, maybe I would think of this as an ear. And my brain would say, oh, the ear should be this way. But in reality, his head is tilted, so the ears are not even. Like right here, you can see they're not on the same plane. So if we had a horizontal line going across here with the grid, you would see this ear is under the line and that ear is above the line. And so if you're just drawing it, you know, without a grid or not drawing it upside down, you would have a tendency to put the ears maybe on the same level, and then you have this wonky looking cat. So the grid is really important. We'll talk more about the grid later. We'll talk about drawing upside down. I'm going to show you how to do these textures. Don't forget to download your workbook that you get for free at pencildrawingcollege.com. And don't forget to watch the video where you actually can watch my hands demo, and then the pencil that I'm using actually comes on the screen. So it's harder for me on this tablet to point it down and have you see it, but I'm going to do some of that in the upcoming days. We're getting closer and closer to that part where you're going to work along with me. And anyway, so that's coming in the near future. Okay, so today I'm going to review what we learned today. You met Michael, JJ, Becky, and John Paul. My why. This is my why. This is why I do what I do. I love making memories and turning them into masterpieces. And we learned that you need a why. You know, maybe you want to earn money. Maybe you want to earn a lot of money. Maybe you want to become famous. Maybe you want to heal the right side of your brain. Maybe you want to keep your brain active and alive so that that muscle doesn't atrophy as you age. Maybe you want to turn your own photos into art and leave a legacy for your family so that they won't forget you when you're gone. There's so many reasons. Maybe you want to grieve by drawing people from that you lost, or drawing your dog or cat when they pass. This happened to me about 1.5 years ago, and it was just gut-wrenching. My kitty. Oh, gut-wrenching. And by drawing her, it helped me grieve the loss and remember all the sweet times we had together, and her purrs, and how she comforted me when I lost my home in the fire, and just all the things we'd gone through. And by drawing her, it rewound those memories, and it kind of softened the grief. And then maybe you do it to siphon off stress. Sometimes I just life comes at you in waves, and you're just like, wow, I need to decompress, and you just disappear into your drawing, and you literally forget the world. You forget that it exists. Time just passes. You know, I remember one time when I was in college, I was going to draw before dinner. It was 2 o'clock, and the dining hall opened at 4. And so I decided, okay, I'm just going to sit down and draw. And all of a sudden, I started getting hungry while I was drawing, and I thought, well, I should probably go to the dining hall. And I looked at the clock, and it was midnight. Midnight! I'd been drawing for 10 hours, and I thought it was 2. You know, that's just the way it is with art. You disappear from the world, and you go to this other place that I call the Serenity Zone, and you kind of reboot your brain, and it just, to my opinion, it affects the body, mind, and spirit. It changes you. And I remember that after the fire happened, I had damaged my arm in the fire, and I couldn't draw for about 9 months. And before that, I was drawing every day. I draw every day. And so I don't get real stress. That's probably why I'm so happy and energetic all the time, because I siphon off my stress with the drawing. But during that 9 months after the fire, I had lost everything. My home, my business, 900 pieces of art, everything I needed to earn a living. Life was grueling. I had to move 5 times, fight with the insurance company, and on and on. So my life was so stressful. And I didn't have my stress relief because I couldn't draw. And that was the first time that I kind of experienced life the way other people do. And I kind of coined this phrase. I said, life without art is like a dentist with no Novocaine. You know, because when I have art, I can disappear. I mean, even I'm at the airport, when Anthony Robbins hired me to go to Venice, Italy, to teach his Platinum Club on the Grand Canal, I got a 7-hour layover that wasn't planned. But I didn't get stressed. You know, most of the time, if you're stuck at the airport for 7 hours, it's stressful. Everybody else was stressed, but not me, because I drew for 7 hours. And the lady next to me had to nudge me and let me know my flight was there, because I'd forgotten where I was. And when I got there at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and everyone wanted to slap me because they'd been at the airport for 7 hours, and I wasn't. I was in the Serenity Zone. So art can take you to a whole nother world. Art can siphon off your stress. Art can make you rich, like this guy that I taught to earn money with art. He's made more than $1 million selling his art. Art can make you rich in memories. Art can leave a legacy. Art can help you process your grief. It's so multi-purpose. Art is a spa for the brain, art is aerobics for the brain, on and on and on. Art is entertainment. Entertainment's right at the end of your fingertips. It's just ridiculous how much joy and pleasure you can get from this simple little thing like drawing. And so today I'm going to conclude my broadcast by saying, what is your why? Why do you want to do this? Find your why. Because you need a why in order to make you motivated to spend the time that you need to become good, because it takes time. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a meter on your brain, on your hand, your fingers, and if you don't spend the time that you need to, you're never going to become good. And so you need to be motivated to practice, because practice is what makes you better. And so when you find your why, then you're motivated. I cannot wait to draw the stuff that we did today when we went on that boat, and when I saw Becky dance at the cotillion tonight. First time I've ever seen her do a waltz. And just, it's ridiculous. I'm so excited. I have a huge why. And I have a huge motivation, and I can't wait to get started. And that's what I want to teach you today. Find your why. And remember, go for the gold, and there will be miracles. I'll see you tomorrow.